National Bureau of Statistics, Mr. Fu Linghui, to brief you on China's economic performance in October this year. You have the floor, Mr. Fu. My friends of the media, good morning. I will first brief you on China's economic performance in October and give you a Q&A session. In October, national economy kept recovering. In the face of complexities and challenges in the international landscape and re-emergence of COVID-19 domestically, under the strong leadership of the CPC Central Committee with Comrade Xi Jinping at its core, we in China studied and implemented the spirit of the 20th CPC National Congress and firmly followed up on the decisions and plans of the Party Central Committee and the State Council. We worked on containing the spread of the pandemic, stabilizing the economy, and securing growth. We worked to ensure the policy package deliver its results. Our national economy keeps recovering. Investment increases, employment and prices are stable. Growth drivers become strengthened, livelihood is protected, and the overall situation remains stable. First, industrial production continued to grow. The total value added of industrial enterprises above a designated size grew by 4.0% year-on-year in the first 10 months. By different sectors, the value added of mining was up by 7.9%, manufacturing up by 3.4%, and electricity, heat, gas and water and utilities up by 5.5%. The VA of high-tech manufacturing was up by 8.7% year-on-year. That's 0.2 percentage point faster than the first 9 months. Breakdown by types of ownership, the value added of SOE was up by 3.7%, shareholding companies was up by 5%, foreign enterprises was up by 0.1%, and private enterprises was up by 3.4%. By different products, production of green and smart products was up by 108.4%. In October, the VA of industrial enterprises above a designated size grew by 5% year-on-year. That's 0.33 percentage point faster than that in the third quarter. The VA of mining was up by 4%, manufacturing up by 4.2%, and that of electricity, heating, gas and water was up by 4%. In October, the PMI was 49.2%, and the production and operation expectation index was 52.6%. In the first 9 months, the total profits made by industrial enterprises above a designated size was 6,244.2 billion yuan. Service sector continued to recover. The index of service production went up by 0.1 of a percentage point in the first 10 months, basically the same compared to the first 9 months. Breakdown by industries, the information transmission, software and IT services and financial services grew by 11.1% and 5.3%. The index of services production went up by 0.1 of a percentage point year-on-year. That of information transmission, software and IT services and financial services grew by 9.2%, 6.4%. That's 0.7 percentage points and 1.5 percentage points faster than that of the previous months. In October, the business activity index for services was 47%. By industries, that of water transportation, telecom broadcast, television and satellite transmission, and monetary and financial services stayed within the high expansion range of 55% and above. Market sales slowed, but sales of goods for essential needs and online retail grew fast. In the first 10 months, total resale of consumer goods reached 36,057.5 billion yuan, up by 0.6% year-on-year, and down by 0.1 of a percentage point in the first 9 months. By different areas, retail in urban areas reached 31,264.9 billion yuan, up by 0.5%. And in rural areas, it was 4,792.6 billion, up by 0.8%. By consumption patterns, the retail of goods was 32,522.7 billion yuan, up by 1.2%, and catering was 3,532.8 billion yuan, down by 5%. Consumption of daily essentials grew steadily. Retail sale of grain, oil, and food and beverages above the designated size was up by 9% and 6.6% respectively. Online retail was 10,954.2 billion yuan. That accounts for 22.2% of the total retail. In October, the total retail reached 4,027.1 billion, down by 5 percentage points year-on-year. That's 0.68% month-on-month decrease. Fixed assets investment went up, and investment in high-tech industries grew very fast. In the first 10 months, the investment in fixed assets was 47,145.9 yuan, up by 5.8% year-on-year, and down by 0.1 of a percentage point than that of the first 9 months. By sectors, the investment in infrastructure grew by 8.7% year-on-year, manufacturing up by 9.7%, and real estate down by 8.8%. The floor space of commercial buildings sold reached 1,111.79 million square meters, down by 22.7%. And total sales of commercial buildings was 10,887.2 billion, down by 26.1%. By industries, the investment in the primary industry was up by 1.4%, secondary industry up by 10.8%, and tertiary industry up by 3.7%. Private investment was up by 1.7%, and the investment in high-tech industries grew by 20.5%. In terms of high-tech manufacturing, the investment in manufacturing of electronic and telecom equipment, medical equipment, measuring instrument grew by 28.7% and 27.8% respectively. Among high-tech services, the investment tech and technology conversion services and in research and design services went up by 24.7% and 22.5% respectively. Investment in social sector grew by 13.1%. The investment in health and education grew by 30.4% and 8.5% respectively. Imports and exports of goods went up, and the trade structure continued to optimize. In the first 10 months, total value of imports and exports of goods was 34,616.5 billion yuan. That's an increase of 9.5%. Total exports was 19,711.7 billion, up by 13 points. Total imports was 14,500 billion, up by 5.2%. If we break that down, general trade accounted for 67%. Private enterprise accounted for 50% of the total value, 22 percentage points higher than the same period. In October, total value of imports and exports was 3,551 billion yuan, up by 6.5% year-on-year. exports was 2,069.1 billion yuan, and trade balance was 586.8 billion in surplus. Employment was generally stable, and urban unemployment rate was generally the same as last month. In the first 10 months, unemployment rate averaged 5.6%. In October, unemployment was 5.5%. That was the same as the previous month. Local surveyed unemployment was 5.4%. Non-local was 5.7%. By age groups, unemployment rate of the age bracket between 16 to 24 and between 25 to 59 was 17.8% and 4.7% respectively, both the same as that of the previous month. The average working hour per week was 47.9 hours. Consumer price saw a mild growth and producer prices went down. In the first 10 months, the CPI went up by 2 percentage points year on year. In October, consumer price went up by 2.1%. That was 0.7 percentage point lower compared to the previous month. Breakdown by categories. Food prices went up by 5.2%, housing down by 0.2%, essentials up by 1.4%, transportation and communication up by 3.1%, education up by 1.2%, medical services and healthcare up by 0.5 percentage point, and other went up by 1.9%. Among food, fresh vegetables went down by 8.1%, grain up by 2.6%, fruit up by 12.6%, and pork up by 51.8%. Core CPI, excluding the prices of food and energy, was up by 0.6%, the same as the previous month. In the first 10 months, the producer prices for products and purchasing prices for producers went up by 5.2% and 7.5% year on year. In October, the producer price went down by 1.3% year on year. That was up by 0.2% month on month. Generally speaking, national economy was able to withstand the many challenges. But with our international situation becoming more complex, the fundamentals for recovery is not yet stable. Going forward, we need to continue to follow the Xi Jinping thought on socialism with Chinese characteristics for a new era. Follow up on the spirit of the 20th CPC National Congress. Deepen the supply side reform and continue to stable consumer prices and stabilize market expectations and strive to deliver a better economic performance. Thank you.
高效统筹疫情防控和经济社会发展，加力落实稳经济的各项举措，积极释放政策的效应。国民经济呢总体上是延续了回复的态势，经济社会发展的大趋势保持稳定。那么主要呢来看有以下几个特点，一个呢是生产需求呢保持恢复的态势。那么10月份呢受国际环境这种复杂严峻和疫情冲击的因素影响，部分指标的增速呢是有所回落的，但是从累计来看呢，保持了总体的平稳。那么1到10月份呢，规模以上工业的增加值同比增长是4%，增速呢比1到9月份是加快了0.1个百分点。那么这个服务业生产指数呢是同比增长0.1%，与1到9月份呢是持平。规范投资对社会消费品零售总额的增速呢，同比分别增长了5.8%和0.6%，增速比上月1到9月是回落0.1个百分点。二是就业和物价呢保持总体稳定。那么尽管经济下行压力较大，但是稳就业政策呢是持续发力，就业形势呢保持了基本平稳。10月份呢，全国城镇调查失业率呢为5.5%，与上月呢持平。那么其中25到59岁的劳动力失业率是4.7%，也是与上月持平。那么在全球通胀压力高企的情况下呢，我国呢持续加大保供国家的力度，和价格形势呢保持经济稳定。那10月份呢 CPI 呢同比上涨2.1%，涨幅呢是比上月回落了0.7个百分点。那么货品、食品和能源的核心 CPI 同比上涨是0.6%，也与上月持平的。三是结构调整的扎实推进。那么工业升级发展的态势持续。那么前10个月呢，高技术制造业增加值同比增长了8.7%，增速呢比1到9月份是加快0.2个百分点。那么高技术制造业的投资同比增长了23.6%，